Hello and welcome to Align and Activate. This is raw talks and universal truths. We are exploring all things spiritual. We've got manifestation, we've got quantum healing, we've got channeling, light language, you name it, we have got it. I am Jenny Priestner, manifestation and mindset mentor, master NLP practitioner, channel and healer, and I am joined by the beautiful
Amy Goodwin, so quantum healing hypnotherapist, light language activation guide, and mentor for starseeds.
Excellent. So, yeah, we're on episode 5 this week, and we are going to be speaking about channeling. So, what is channeling? So, myself and Amy are both channels. So, I feel like I'm going to open this one up to Amy because she has been a channel for a lot longer than what I have. So, I feel like, yeah, I want to bat this over to you, Amy, then. Do you want to explain to us what is channeling?
So, channeling is the receiving of, the allowing of spiritual information to move physically through your vessel, your body, and be expressed into physical form. So, what I mean by that is spoken through word. Okay, so it can be done through automatic writing, it can be expressed through movement, expressed through dance. And I feel like we make channeling so much more complicated than it is because we are doing this a lot of the time. Creativity, so art, is a form of channeling. Anything that connects you to source, to something more, okay, expands your awareness, expands your consciousness. In those moments, you are channeling something. Okay, so you are channeling, higher beings. You are allowing energy, if you want to put it that way, frequency to move through your body and for it to become something. So for me, it's very much in alignment with all of the manifestational stuff that we're talking about. Okay, and if you want to put it like even more simple than that, it's connection. It's connection to the all that is. It's total oneness. It's, I want to use the word access to, so it's like you're kind of pulling information. So if you want to, if you want to use the term Akashic Records, which is like the spiritual library where everything exists that ever was and ever will be, it's where, there is no time. We are connecting to that to receive higher awareness, and then we are expressing it into a way that is relatable to others on some level. Does that make sense?
I absolutely love that. And I just want to say as well, guys, if you're tuning into our podcast, so please like and subscribe to these videos if you are enjoying them, just so obviously you get the notifications going forward. And just so obviously it tells us that, we're doing a good job and you're absolutely loving it. So I actually really like what you said there, because I think sometimes people feel that like, oh, right, okay, channeling, I've never heard of it before. So therefore it's something away from me. It's something outside of me. It's something that, oh, my level of spirituality has not quite got me at that yet. But the example that you've just said, to do with art, to do with writing, it's anything where you are channeling creativity. If you want to put it on a kind of level, you don't have to, obviously later on we're going to be speaking about, channeling of, universal energies and galactic beings, but it doesn't have to be, if there was a scale of channeling, it doesn't have to be up there. It could be, when you sit down and you've got blank canvas in front of you and it's like, right, okay, I'm ready to compose. And all of a sudden, like your mind starts creating these images, and all of a sudden your pen starts moving on the paper, and next minute you've got a masterpiece in front of you, and you've channeled that creativity from somewhere. And again, while I was just thinking about that, then if we think about really going off the diving end here, but if you think about the great composers or any composer, like Mozart and Beethoven, they were channeling that information. Like, I think, please don't quote me on this one. Is it Mozart was deaf, wasn't he?
Think so, like, don't quote me on it either, but one of them was,
One of
so
them, one of them
no
was deaf.
disrespect.
And it's like, so how can someone who's deaf compose such amazing music. And obviously they can, again, it's vibration, you know, they could feel the vibrations of the tones and the frequencies. But it just shows though that like the connection that they must have had. And obviously back then, you know, there was no TV to sit and distract him. All this information was just coming through him. And he was like, right, I need to draw music, I need to get it out. And that's what it is. It's like it's the symphony of life being performed and being played through you, isn't it? And like you gifting your information and creativity to the world to please other people. So yeah, I just wanted to touch in on specifically honing in on what you said on that one, that in some way, shape or form, every single one of us is channeling in some variety or another. So whether you believe it or not, or whether you have realized it or not, you know, you are channeling when you sit down to make your crafts that you sell at a crafts fair or something like that. You know, your brain putting it all together, like where this to go and where that to go. You're channeling these creativities. We don't have to make it complicated. We are going to do, but just to keep it simple at this moment in time, it can just be anything that's just beautiful. So
Yeah.
yeah, I hope that nice sort of simplified little sort of tugging on what you just said there sort of hits home.
Yeah, definitely. So it's anything as well that takes us like outside of time and space. Like, you know, if you find yourself listening to a beautiful piece of music and you're going off to like la la land somewhere, it's because it's like taking you somewhere else. And in those moments you kind of channeling. So for example, like, you know, when you listen to meditation music and you're just totally present with it and you're allowing information to flow, or you're going into the void or whatever it is that, do you know what I mean? Because obviously there's many different types of meditation, but it's very much like a state as well where you feel like you are outside of time and space, mostly because it feels so much in flow. You're not in that like linear place so much like anymore. Like for example, you know, in my quantum hypnosis sessions, you can still be aware that something is happening and that you're here. You're not like, you know, channeling. I think there's this misconception as well that channeling is like there's trance channeling where the, you know, the person's consciousness kind of leaves and someone else just sort of enters the body, right? And I don't do that, but I know people that do that, right? And it's like there's different sort of variances of it, and one is not better than the other. What I just want to say though is if you've ever been sat with a friend and you've been talking about something, and it could be like anything, and that friend, you know, on some level has like maybe asked for your help or your insight or your advice, right? And you've had this deep inner knowing of like exactly what to say, and it's really landed with that person and they've really had a breakthrough, and it was like you didn't know where that information came from. So this is kind of what it was like before I started coaching, so maybe you'll be able to relate to this as well. It's like that's like your inner wisdom, your channel that is accessing something that is more than you, so you can support that person, you know, facilitate a healing experience for that person. That's another way that channeling may come through, because a lot of people seem to relate channeling to, you know, psychic ability, and yes, it is very much that, but it's also the very simple things that a lot of the time you don't even realize that you're doing. For example, giving advice to a friend, but it's kind of not you that's speaking, if that makes sense, because it's just moving through your consciousness. When you are in a state of love and you are speaking, people feel that, and that's when you're channeling, right? So it's about accessing your heart consciousness. So I'll just leave that there and I'll see what you want to add to that.
No, 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 I totally get that. And I feel like I want to follow up from like, you know, what we were speaking about where everything is energy. So just saying like maybe how that one works. So you've got you there and you've got your best friend there. So you're both sat in each other's energies. And so within that, when your friend is asking you a question, it's because your energies are merging. It's then allowing you to access the inner wisdom and the inner guidance, what that person will need. And like you say, sometimes it's like you'll offer a piece of information and it will like, well, I don't quite know where that's come from, but it's landed so well with the other person and it's exactly what they needed to hear. So yeah, I feel like we've given an all-round indication with it, but I'd definitely say with channeling as well, it's I think it comes without thinking, because with thinking you're having to switch on your logical mind, whereas with channeling it's an accessing somewhere where it's just being, I'm just going to say, beamed down to you, if that makes sense. You know, like if you're having to overthink something all the time, then that's coming from a logical thought process. But whereas obviously when you're channeling something, it's just, you're just downloading it constantly. So when then did you start channeling, Amy? Tell us your story about channeling.
Just before I go into that, I just want to say something very quickly. So if you want to think about it like this is how simple it can actually be, is that me and Jenny are channeling in this moment. Like we had a very brief, we have a very brief kind of maybe outline of what these things are going to be. But when we're actually in these, in these podcasts, something else happens and there's an energy, right? And there's a switching on of information moving through both of us as our energies combine and connect with you lot, whoever's going to receive this afterwards and hopefully for years to come. This is channeling. Like we're not sat here with a script. I'm literally saying things. I'm speaking from my heart. Some things, yes, it's like I'm being reminded to say certain things at a certain point, but there's no sort of like we're not like meticulously planning these out. Like 10 minutes before we sort of go, so what we're going to talk about then? Like we kind of have an overall theme, like maybe a couple of days before, but literally 10 minutes before we're going, how should we do it? And
It's
then
so the
everything
truth
else
though, isn't it?
unfolds.
I've literally got a thing here with like 5 points that we're going to be speaking about, and then that's it. Like that just keeps the show kind of moving. So yeah, we're not sat here
Yeah.
like reading from a script book at the side, like, Amy, you didn't stick to your line.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. But yeah, that is channeling. When you're speaking from your heart, that's channeling. When you're doing anything from your heart, it's all channeling. So that's an easier way to put it. So when did I first start channeling? Now, I want to say like spiritually channeling, okay, because I was brought up in the Mormon church, and I would say I probably started connecting to God in the Mormon church. Now I don't resonate with that particular denomination anymore, for various reasons, but I would say that I started channeling after a breakup with an ex-boyfriend 10 years ago. So it was in 2014. As we all know, breakups are not fun. I was heartbroken at the time. I didn't expect it. And I'd been going through a spiritual awakening, probably, I would say, a couple of years prior to that, where I'd started seeing the numbers, connecting with the angels, doing a bit of that. But I wasn't really sort of like meditating or doing any of that, or like proactively speaking to my guides, right? Or receiving messages from them. But I did have this book, and this book I highly recommend opening to channel, right? For those that are interested in channeling, maybe some of you have got this book. Let us know in the comments what if you do have it and what you've received from it. By Roman Packer, no, Sinea Roman and Dwayne Packer. And from what I remember of it, it's their like higher selves that have written this book literally and are speaking to other people about how to open up their channeling abilities and how to access their higher selves. So there's an exercise in this book, and it goes something like you sit down and you ask to connect with your like light council, okay? And I remember sitting down, I had my little candle in front, and I was like, let's see what happens. Never done this before. And then I put my hands up to the side like that, as it suggested. And it was just like I was in this whole other realm. It was so clear, and everything was kind of white and golden. And I was sat in a circle of these beings, and there was like 12 of them, and I was just connecting with them. But why I knew it was channeling, because I didn't just see it, I felt it. I felt it like I'd never felt anything in my life. And I cried and cried and cried and cried and cried, because it was like I'd gone home. Right.
yeah.
That was the feeling. And it was literally like, thank you, I'm not alone. Because in that moment, I was feeling really alone. Do you know what I mean? Everything had gone to shit. I was in this house not knowing I was going to pay the bills, and you know what it's like. And it was just like everything felt like it was an absolute disaster. Like I wasn't happy in any area of my life. And then I got this book, and all of these beings just presented themselves to me in such like a clear, I don't know if visceral is the right word, way, but it was just like I'd gone home. I was crying. I was absolutely crying my eyes out. I was like, I can feel you and I can see you. And like my whole life, I feel like there was always something there, and you know, I'd had experiences of spirit and poltergeist and all that when I was younger, but I'd never proactively channeled like that. And from that moment on, many things happened. Like I went and developed, I went to several mediumship workshops. I went and trained to be a coach. I went and did my angelic Reiki attunements, and then I went on to do, you know, have my light language activated, which was another story, which maybe we can go into it, maybe we can save it, I don't know, because it might end up being long. But that came through very naturally as well. And like I would say probably that was the first moment that I started channeling, and because that happened, it was like the doors have been opened and I could never be the same again, because I saw it. Like
Yeah.
it was as real as like I'm looking at you right now. Do you know what I mean? And like I was crying, like, and I think that's how you know, because you feel it. It's something you can't deny, that like level of love and protection and support. And you know, and don't worry if you've never had anything like this and you're like, I don't know what you're talking about. You will, like it, if you keep going, you will, right? It doesn't mean that it's not there, and it doesn't mean that it's just as real for you either. Yeah, so what are your thoughts on that?
I think just before I go into my story, I think just what you were saying there then,
Yeah.
if they've not felt it yet, then go back and watch the other episodes that we've done. What we spoke about is obviously spiritual awakening and honestly energy, because these are the things that we have done on our journeys where we've done the work. You know, we've released a lot of energy. And if you imagine yourself, like again, we speak about in We Are Energy, if you imagine yourself like a straw, if you've got energy or, memories, emotions from your past generational trauma that is kind of blocking your straw, then this is where we've done a lot of the work to release all this, to then obviously be able to allow ourselves to channel. So the feelings and emotions, what Amy is speaking about there, they are available to everyone. It's just a case of just doing the work, but you just have to keep going and just keep believing. So I just wanted to add that bit on there. But yeah, it's such a true and real story, and I can relate to many aspects of yours. And I think based on what you were saying before, how, we are all kind of channeling when we speak from our heart space. And, when we're offering advice, that's one thing that I've always been renowned of in my life. And that's why I know I'm a bit of an old soul. Because, like even when I was a lot younger, I was always offering, like really clear, straight-headed level advice to people that I just kind of knew what to say. And then obviously that kind of took me down like a psychology route. In the end, I've trained up obviously to be a life coach, NLP practitioner. And so I feel like that giving of information has always been there. I've always known exactly what to say. But I would say then my spiritual channeling has become more about, I would say definitely, it's all been happening last year really. Like I've been going through like rebirths. And what do I mean by rebirths? I mean, it's like an energetic rebirth. It's where I'm using the word. You shouldn't use a word to describe a word because that's really bad. It's the one thing I remember from school. But a rebirth, it's like, so if you imagine like a phoenix, obviously every now and again it crashes down, it burns up, but from the ashes it comes up stronger. And that's like what I feel like a rebirth has done for me. I've gone through hardship in my life. Like obviously I've gone through um like times when I've been very suicidal because obviously I was struggling with my hormones. I had PMDD, I had my chronic illness where I was transfusion dependent, and I got to this point in my life where I was just like, what the fuck is going on? Like, how is this even happening to me? But rather than let it consume me and go down a rabbit hole, that's where I like took myself to ground to do work. And because then I shifted a lot of this mindset work, a lot of this generational trauma, a lot of this programming, I was able to kind of move some energy. And then within that, your soul, your higher self just kind of elevates a little bit higher and elevates a little bit higher. So I feel like we've discussed this as well on spiritual awakening. You don't just go up like that. You kind of like go up, crash, come up higher, crash, come up higher. So each time I've gone for a rebirth, and it's like, I'm even going through them now. Like I go through them like again the last couple of weeks where I lose my head and I'm just like, oh my God, what is happening? And I go through and it's kind of like in an incubation phase. It's like where the energy is like starting to integrate within your vessel. Then all of a sudden all the clouds clear and I come out stronger. And I suppose mine started again. I've done my light language activation with Amy, and obviously I did the quantum healing um regression that we did. Um, but again, though, that's where I was starting to channel my higher self. And even like with doing plant medicine, you know, I've been experiencing it with by taking cacao. When I drink cacao, it is a high vibrational plant medicine. So it literally is opening up your heart center. So going on with what Amy was saying is you're always speaking from the heart. The moment I drink cacao, again, those tears that you were talking about, this is what I experience when I drink it. So I mean, I'm just going to do a plug. So we drink, or I specifically drink, Liam Brown's full power cacao, and it is absolutely phenomenal. And that has allowed me to become the person that I am today and step into this channeling because it has allowed me to clear this energy. So when I drink it, I'll just start, honestly, tears just start coming down my face, but they're like tears of like joy. And then the next minute, like Amy said, you know, like how you've just got this feeling and it's a feeling of home. And it's because I've connected in with my higher self. And the love that I feel in my heart is something that I've never experienced in a lifetime before. Because most of the time in my life, it's felt very empty, hollow, lonely, depressed. You know, it's felt so all of a sudden to be full and filling of all this energy, something just wants to come out of me. And then my hands start to move and I'm just start to experience like this different energy kind of coming through me. And like you say, you know, it's offering words and the right words come to you at the right time. And obviously we're going to speak how we use it within our working abilities. But yeah, this is something that's definitely coming through me at the moment. The energy is starting to work through me. And even now I can feel it in my shoulder. And it's like, I just want to channel. I want to move through you, Jen. I want to come out of you. I want to speak in this way. So yeah, I've not really said how I became a channel because in honesty, mine sort of happened in increments. But yeah, it is literally doing the energy work, releasing anything in your past that is holding you back. The mindset work, again, it's just like release the programs that are, you know, keeping you stuck in that old way of thinking, just to allow you to go through a rebirth and step into the highest version of yourself. And this is when you will easily begin to channel because all the bullshit that you've left behind is gone and you're just coming from a place of joy and love. And then you are a channel. So, don't know if that
Yeah.
answered your question or not, but that's what I've got to say
I
about
can't
that.
remember what the question was, to be honest, but
How did I become a channel?
yeah, how did you become a so I feel like a lot of it is the releasing of resistance on this journey. So I actually, even though I do say it myself for want of a better term, and I know everyone uses the term around blocks, okay, but I prefer to describe it, and it's all, you know, it all leads to the same thing ultimately, and you know, different ways around the circle and all that. For me though, it's like about releasing resistance, because when you think about it, the energy of resistance is like, I'm very closed and I don't want to open because it's not safe and people think I'm weird. Whereas like channeling is like, it's like the bursting forth of the like the spiritual dam that like can't, you know, cannot be contained anymore. And it's an energy of allowing, it's an energy of being in flow. There is no resistance in the energy of being in flow. So the more that you can get in that state, which is why I love that you know you were feeling, right, you were doing the movements. This is a you know, this, anything that gets you like in your body in a way where it feels more free, right, is going to help you with your channeling abilities. So things like yoga, dance, you know, is the biggest one for me, right? But anything like that, when you're moving your energy, that's why you know, you can be really angry and pissed off about a thing, but then like you'll just be like, I am just going to put this down for a minute, and this can be a discipline in itself rather than being like a dog with the bone trying to sort the thing out, right? In those moments, you're letting go of the resistance, right? Letting go of the bone, so to speak. Yeah. And you decided, I'm gonna go for a walk, and I am going to feel better. It's much more than about the endorphins moving through your body. It's about you releasing resistance and allowing information to go through, right? To come through. So then you can come back to the situation and revisit the situation. So often when you'll go for a walk or do whatever, you'll be like, something will sort of whisper in your ear and go, and it's like, oh, what if I did it that way instead? What if I said this instead? What if I had this perspective? The what ifs will come through, and that's you channeling. And then you'll have a breakthrough and you'll come back to whatever the situation was and you'll see it differently because in that moment you decided to let go. So channeling, another way of thinking about it is it's the energy of letting go.
I love that. I love that. And it's so true that when you're in the problem, you can't see past the problem. But when you move yourself from it, allow your mind to be in a different state of mind. And like you say, the whispers come and it's like problems get moved on. So just to sort of say then, so how then do you give an example then of how you use channeling. So how do you use it within your everyday life? How do you use it in your business? How does Amy channel?
Yeah. So how do I use it? Okay. So I mean, I'll talk about it in my business first of all, and then I'll try and think of some examples from my personal life. Okay. So in in my business, what I mean is in the work that I do, right? In what I like to refer to as my life purpose work. Okay. So the way that I use it is to help people to access their own higher selves and access their own wisdom and access their guides and their light counsel. So specifically what that looks like is through light language for one, because light language is spiritual information. It's light codes, okay, which are they kind of like unlock, so they release resistance when you hear it. So a lot of the time people will feel like they're coming home, right? So it's straight away it drops them into their heart, and then they're able to access their own heart intelligence, their own whatever it is that they need to receive in that moment. And it can also be states of joy or just whatever it is that they need. I use it in my quantum healing hypnosis sessions. That's where we go in. If any of you are familiar with Dolores Cannon's work, it's where we go and visit past lives, other realities. We're literally going and exploring the higher self. Basically it goes to the Akashic record and it's like, what does whoever the person is need to receive in this moment, and we'll go to wherever it is that information is stored. It's not always the case that we go to different realities. Sometimes I just very much sort of have a coaching conversation with the higher self, and because I'm speaking to the higher self, they are accessing their own wisdom, and it's just kind of me prompting them to access whatever it is they need. So it could be about relationships, it could be about life purpose, business, work, money, paranormal experiences. So I use my higher self, basically this is why I'm called Activation Amy, to activate another person's higher self. That's how I particularly use it in my coaching. It's just really tuning into that person and knowing the exact right questions to ask. And I would say probably, the way that I'm using it a lot more recently is I can literally download a course within half an hour. I can write a course on whatever it is, and it'll just all come out and it'll just be there. Putting it into action is another thing, right?
Takes ages writing it up.
but ideas, yeah, and I can help a person to access their own ideas, because something will come through me as they're speaking. I'll go, well, what if you did it this way? How does that land for you? So I would say they're probably the biggest ways that I use it. Is that what you're asking me, kind of how
Yeah,
in my work?
Yeah.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Perfect.
How do you use it in yours?
So yeah, I like all that, because obviously this is how we got Align and Activate as the podcast, because obviously you're Activation Amy and I'm obviously, my business is called Align Authentic Self, because that's what I do within my coaching. So obviously I have aligned with my higher self. So I always imagine it, I'm trying to get it where you can see. So imagine if you're here and your higher self's there. So you've got to release the energy. you've got to do the mindset work, and you come into alignment with your frequency. And then once that happens, then this is where you can then just create magic. This is when you can manifest. This is when you've got brain and heart, we've done that right, brain and heart coherence. And this is where the magic happens. So this is my gift. This is my purpose. This is what I am here to do. So I'm here to help people align with their authentic self. I'm here to help people align with their higher self. So yeah, in the same way. So obviously when I'm in my coaching sessions, obviously I'll be speaking to them and information will be coming out of me. Like the question, it's always the question that needs to be asked that will incite the best answer out of them, if that makes sense. Like,
Yeah.
obviously, it's intuitive coaching. We're not, when we both coach, we're not sat here with like a list of questions like, so when you are feeling that, do you feel this? Like, that's not coaching, you know. I feel like obviously in the beginning you do learn how to coach, but I think people enter into the coaching possession, what's the word? Profession, that's the word, because they've got a natural ability for it. They've got an intuitive ability for it. So yes, there is something learned to obviously go and get the qualification, but then after that, it's the information just comes through you. So yeah, when I'm in a coaching session, obviously I have a framework of a program that I work through to obviously get them the transformation at the end. But sometimes each session ends up completely different because of the information that is coming through me. And more recently as well, like I'm receiving visualization. So I'm channeling a visualization. I will then be describing that to my client. And then that then just brings out like, you know, big breakthroughs for them. They're like, yeah, this is it. And it's like, you know, it's accessing, like you say, the Akashic records to sort of weed through. Because this is what, at the end of the day, though, we're all on the same mission. We all want to be the best versions of ourselves. The people that are on the mission want to be this. Some people are still, you know, head down and, you know, doing what they need to do in life. But for some people that are at the curiosity point, they want to break through. They are feeling frustrated. They're feeling like they feel stuck. They feel lost in the life. They feel like they don't have a direction or a purpose. And those are the people that we want to work with, because those are the people that are like, right, I don't belong in the rat race. I'm here for something a lot more. And these are the people that are waking up in life. So yeah, if you are feeling that sense of frustration and it's just like, I just feel lost, I just don't know what to do with myself, it's because your higher self is calling for you to do something different. But obviously, like your lower self is a bit like, oh, come on, I don't know what to do. Let's not change what we're doing. We like paying bills and going to work every day. So yeah, you're kind of stuck in the middle. So these are the kind of the people that we are, well, that me in particular are working with. And then obviously, yeah, and at the moment as well, I do a lot of healing work within my coaching sessions. So, like you've just said there, again, I will get like guided visualizations, and obviously they come to me. It's like, right, okay, I need to do that. And again, though, I've got to sit there typing all this out, so I've got it all there. And it's I did one recently in a masterclass, and this lady had the most beautiful, like she just came back to the computer screen, like crying her eyes out. She's just like, I've just released loads of energy from that. So it's what Amy and I'm going to speak for the both of us here, what we see, feel, and experience, and what we bring through our coaching then allows you to then experience, you know, higher levels of healing and breakthroughs to then allow you to become the best version of yourself. So yeah, I feel like obviously there's a combined mission between us, but it's in the same kind of way. So yeah, and at this moment in time, like I say, I keep going through rebirth and rebirth. So I'm like, just I'm on the cusp of my gifts, if that makes sense. So I've got to still keep doing the work myself to keep breaking through. So I know that this energy is coming through me at the moment, and obviously I can speak in light language. And we're going to get to this one a little bit in the middle, a little bit of imposter syndrome, but you know, it's starting to come through and starting to come through. So again, that's going to be giving activations. It's going to be bringing, you know, soul connections. So the only way is up. So yeah, so because I've touched on imposter syndrome, then let's tell me a little bit about that, because you have also just done a beautiful YouTube video on channeling. Am I making it up? Imposter syndrome. So yeah, so seeing as how I've just touched on that, so tell me a little bit about that then.
Yeah, the biggest question that like people tend to have when they come to this, you know, it can also be mediumship and psychic abilities, Reiki, whatever it is that you're doing, you know, because we are taught, as we've mentioned like many times in the other ones, the other podcast, because we are taught that, you know, if it isn't tangible, and I think I mentioned about the angry dad, right? It's like, if I can't see it, then what is it? Don't what is it, Jenny? If you can't see it, don't believe it.
If I can't see it, I'm not gonna believe it.
Yeah, it's like
okay, can't see but still believing it.
yeah. So because we are taught from childhood to, give power and value to our external experiences, and we are also, not taught to go within, and we, how many times it's just your imagination, how many times you hear that, right, in school and all that, and like wherever, right, in your life still as well, right, it's just your imagination. Yeah. So it's like that part of us is discredited. And I was having a conversation with a friend the other day about how, as well, and he was saying it to me, like how in a lot of films, they, there's like a comedy spiritual person, or like, the bad guy, the villain now is made out to be a little bit spiritual as well. So like spirituality is kind of being almost
Demonized.
like demonized, yeah, and made fun of, right, in films to make, people like us, right? I'm doing it right now, but whatever, like, like the chosen ones. No, I don't think that at all. But that's what they make out. Like, do you know what I mean? Like as if, you know what I'm saying, don't you? So because of this, is still very kind of prevalent in the collective, and it is getting better. Like people I know 10 years ago that would never used to laugh at me for like doing readings and using tarot cards, which, as I've mentioned, I don't do anymore because my work has changed, right? Those same people now are now into the tarot cards, right, on Instagram and different places, like, doing whatever. And it's really interesting because those people 10 years ago would have been like, you crazy, all this and the other. I'm sure you can buy crystals now in Superdrug, right? Like it's an actual thing, right? It's like, I know, yeah. So it's like, it's obviously becoming more mainstream, yet it is still very demonized. Okay, so in response to what you've asked me about, like the imposter syndrome thing, because that is still there, there's still like a fear, like a collective fear that it's not okay, right, to channel and to go within and to use your intuition and to connect with your heart. And it's like these people are, made out to be like a little bit hippy dippy and airy fairy. And yeah, definitely, yeah, woo woo, okay. Even that in itself, right? It's like, yeah, okay, I'm just gonna own that shit. I mean, like, who doesn't? Like, I love my alien head and I don't give a fuck about it. Like, so sorry, but like in the last video, you will just see that I just absolutely own it and take the piss out of myself at the same time, because you've got to, you're taking it too seriously. Do you know what I mean? If you don't, you like, in life, it's just like, own it, right? But just have fun with it as well. Yeah. But like, okay, so imposter syndrome then. So yeah, the question comes, am I making it up? And my answer to this is yes. Yes, you are making it up. And here's why. Your imagination is that powerful. It is the bridge where your intuition, source, angels, guides speak to you through your imagination. So the more that you learn to work with your imagination, and this is a big part of developing your clairsenses, and for example, what you were just saying about like you've started downloading visualizations and meditations, right, from the Akashic record, which then give that person the experience. So I've used this in a lot of like manifestation scenarios with people where we go to what's called living in the end, or quantum jump the person into the reality. We go into that situation, we work with their imagination through their five senses. Okay, so in that visualization, the meditation, the person will see something, they'll smell something, they'll touch something, they'll taste something, and then it becomes a very real imprinted experience on that person's senses. Okay, so your mind doesn't know the difference. And this is what I'm getting at with the channeling, right? Everything is made up. It's all made up, but that doesn't devalue it. So we've got to let go of the idea that just because you're making it up, it's not real. And this is where the trust part comes in, because people have so much resistance around the making it up, that I just say, yes, you are, but it's coming through you. Okay. So the more, like in the quantum hypnosis sessions, I say, even if you're making it up, tell me what you're feeling now. Tell me what you can see. Tell me what you can perceive. Tell me what you can hear. Even if you feel like you're making it up, let it be okay that you feel that way. Because I think what a lot of people tend to do is think, no, I'm a fraud. No, I'm full of shit. No, la, la, la. Do you know what I mean? And they're scared. Like, they're scared of the idea that, like, they could be making it up. And they're even more scared of, like, it could be coming from somewhere else. So this is where, you know, like Jenny said earlier, there is a mindset to being a channel as well, in that, you know, you've got to change your limiting beliefs around your spiritual gifts and the channeling, the allowing energy. So does that answer your question?
It does. And I feel like, because what you've just said there is what I experienced in my session with you. So obviously I did my light language activation, and after you've done this beautiful activation, we did a very beautiful visualization. And at the end of it, Amy invited me to speak light language. And obviously it started coming out of me, but it sounded really similar to my best friend, Catherine Henshaw, psychic medium. And I was like, no, it just sounds like Catherine's, I'm copying her. And Amy was like, no, keep going. You're speaking light language. And although it was coming out my mouth, I was like, no, I'm making it up. No, I'm copying, because I can imitate and remember things really well. So in my head, I just thought I was like picking it up. And that was imposter syndrome, because when I've got myself into high vibrational states, like when I've had cacao and, you know, done other meditations and work, and this light language is just pouring out of me. But it's exactly the same as what I was experiencing and channeling when I was in the sessions with you. But my brain, my mindset, I was just telling myself, I was like, no, it's not real. No, it's not right. I'm not doing it right. And you can put your own blocks to it. And even like with my channeling, again, when I started channeling, I'm like, no, because that's just my voice saying it. And it's like, it's not, because you're literally just you're just saying the next thing that comes into your mind and out, into your mind and out, into your mind and out. So I feel like then that allows us then to move on. I feel like we've covered that one then. So if we speak about when we are channeling, I feel like we've just done it then. Maybe I can just sort of touch on how mine is something will come to mind. Like, so say like now when we're starting to speak, I'm not having to pre-plan what I'm saying in my head. It just comes to my head and I say it. It comes to my head and I say it. And this also as well, and this is something that I do in my coaching as well, I teach people to speak their authentic truth. And when you're speaking your authentic truth, you're speaking from a heart place. And this is why I always implicitly trust everything that's coming out my mouth, because it's coming from my heart space. Now, if what I'm saying doesn't land with someone well and it upsets them and it triggers them, I always know that if I'm speaking from my heart, that what I've said is 100% pure. But if it's triggered them, then what has been said for a reason, because that is then for them to go away and work on, why is it triggering them? You know, I could say the nicest, beautiful thing to Amy, but if she's running a program in her head that what I've said doesn't lie well with her, you know, then it would trigger something, and then that would then, you know, indicate something that needed to be healed, if that makes sense. So as long as you're always speaking pure and from the heart center. So with my channeling and how mine works then, especially like when I've obviously now we're just speaking, but especially when I've had the cacao, like my voice changes a little bit slightly and my arms start to move, and just what comes to mind, I speak. What comes to mind, I speak. What comes to mind, I speak. And then that's how I just literally just practice to doing it. And yeah, there have been times when I was like, no, I'm making it up. No, that's not me. But sometimes it comes on that strong that it's like, oh no, this really isn't me. This really is like coming from somewhere else. So I suppose that's my example of how the channeling comes out. So is that how it happens with you as well? Do you agree with that in what we're saying?
Yeah, like I'll try and explain then, I guess, now how I use it probably in my personal life these days. And I really, the word that I want to use is like, I've really kind of surrendered into this. Like I would say in particular, very much in this past year, have I really started to tune in and actually channel out loud and record it on like voice notes. So sometimes these voice notes are like 30 minutes long. So it'll start off something like this. And for the most part, like it's usually just me. But sometimes if I'm feeling particularly like really stuck in an area, I may use plant medicine to facilitate whatever, right, coming through. And I'll do myself a little like ceremony. But usually it goes something like, I don't know what to do. So I'll do like a 2-minute meditation. I will set the intention. I would like to receive some information on how to move through this thing, right? I will literally get this urge of this energy, and I feel it starting here, and it moves up and it moves up and it moves up, and they're like, speak like that, right? And it's like something is kind of asking to be spoke to. I can just feel it, like I can't explain it, right? And I will just open my voice recorder app and I will start talking and information will come through. And as I'm saying it, I know that if I try to solve or to shift through this situation or move through it or receive information of it, I would not say what it is that I'm saying. And when I listen back to it, it's never, a lot of the time it's not been what I wanted to hear, but it's absolutely been what I needed to hear. And there's a very, very big difference, because when it's you, there's all this like attachment and, you know, like your ego or your lower self or whatever you want to call it is still trying to go, yeah, but and like when you are channeling, it's not necessarily what you think that you would want, but it lands so much deeper than that, because when you listen back to it, you have like a sense of relief, and you're like going, oh my God, yeah, that's it. That's what I needed to hear. Right. And it's like, that's how I use channeling now. Whereas previously, like, you know, for many, many years, like I'd be kind of doing the work and still doing the work now, but like I would maybe like go to somebody else. And I feel like for a period of time, that's great. And I do definitely still have a coach, right? But it's more that I'm going within as opposed to trying to ignore the situation or put it to one side. And it's me now being able to access that channeling ability. And that's how I create my courses, and you know, the light language course and everything was literally me just sat there with a voice recorder and asking them to speak, them being the guides, right? And they did. And I listened to it back and go, that's what I need to do. And that's how I get my quantum meditation journeys and all that, because it's there for everyone. It's available for everybody. We've all got access to higher wisdom, and you will know because it will give you relief. That's what I want to say about that.
Like the quickest way of working ever, isn't it? Because you don't have to think about it. It just comes, if that makes sense. It's like, that's why they say that, like, when you're in the right, I don't want to call it a job, when you're in the right profession and service, it comes naturally to you. You're not having to sit there and like grind and, you know, think about things. Obviously there are aspects of that, like trying to run social media and stuff like that, but you know, like the work in itself just like comes out. But yeah, I love what you say there. And obviously plant medicine, whichever way you want to look at it, obviously you've got cacao, you've got other forms of it. The universe will always give you what you need and not what you want. That is like the banner of like intentions, isn't it? You know, because like you say, you can go in there because want comes from a place of ego, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Whereas need is like what your heart center needs. So yeah, I think that is, even when setting intentions, universe is like, I see your intentions, but you need this one more.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. And
Um,
it's like, you know, it's having desires is perfect, right? Having soul desires that expand you and are in the highest good of all, right? That's great because that's how you're evolving. But to want something indicates a lack of something, right? So I'll be like this to the guides. I'll go, I really want this thing to happen, right? And the guides, I will literally just channel and they'll just look at it from every angle. And I tell you what they always say as well, and it's not just me, but it comes in through the quantum journeys as well. You have free will. We cannot live your life for you, okay? However, we can tell you what the potentials are available to you in this current moment based on your current frequency. And then they'll show me the potentials and they'll go, which potential do you actually feel that you need? And I'll probably go, and it's kind of, I can't say it because I don't think it's very PC, but it's kind of like I'm having another conversation with somebody else, because sometimes in the voice notes, the voice of my ego, me, will come through my lower self, and it will sound on a completely different frequency to what they're speaking, and they always sound very authoritarian. It's not coming from me because I don't talk like that. The words that they use, I don't talk like that. I don't say these things, right? And it's like it's a completely different energy. Like my voice when I'm asking them a question is like, it's totally different. It is mad how it works. And I know Catherine, our friend, I remember like sending her a couple of them, I think, at one point, and she was like, yeah, mine works the same. I'll be there having a conversation and theirs will sound completely different to my voice.
It is. I think that's the thing though, you know, like when you channel him and it's like people have got like, oh yeah, but you know, spirit's like, he's so soft and it's so this. And I'm like, no, you can get bollocked off spirit because they're like, what are you playing at?
Oh,
What
yeah.
are you doing? And it's like I've done it with Catherine before where we've sat there and like normally she's been channeling for me, obviously, when my gifts hadn't come through. And when my gifts had come through, honestly, I sat down, she was sat there and I was like, right, my go now. And it was just like all this channeling was coming out and it felt amazing to do it because normally I'm sat there like that, like on this receiving end of like this spiritual bollocking, like, you know, you need to be doing this, you need to be doing that, and like, why are you still doing this? And this is wrong. And it's like, because this guidance is coming through thick and fast and strong, you know, and they're not sitting there like with fluffy suggestions. It's like they're just so direct, aren't they? Like when spirit's coming through. So yeah, like I have had many a spiritual bollocking before, like, but I've always took it on board. Like we have got free will, yeah, but if you've got this guidance there, it's like, are we not stupid not to take it? Obviously, you can use your own. What's tickled you?
Just the spiritual bollocking, because I can so relate to it, because that's what it's like. That is literally what it's like. Because sometimes I'm just like, I don't know what to do about this thing, and they're like, this is the third time you've now come to us about this, and once again we are going. But it's the energy, and it's hard to explain because it's very different to you, and it's like I work with the dragon energies, and that is definitely an authoritarian energy. But yeah, it is. It's like you get a spiritual bollocking with love. With love,
Yeah,
though,
yeah.
it's not like you're getting bollocks off your dad or anything. It's like, even though, you know, do you know what I mean? It's not like you're just getting bollocks for the sake of it. We've used that word loads, so I hope everyone's okay with it. Sorry if you're not, but like, how else do you say it? But
Beep.
like, it's like that. But because you know deep down, you're like, okay, I'll do better. Like, but you know, and then I feel afterwards, and then I tell you what, right? Every single time I take this advice that comes through on these voice recordings, it has never once led me wrong. It's always been so bang on accurate, like with my business, with everything. And when I listen to it back, I'm like, do that. I'm not ready to do that. And it's like, then I've gone and took the action, and it's really like took
Paid
off.
off.
Yeah.
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 It is though. It is. It's beautiful, but it's like when the energy, when you're channeling, like most of the time, I've not really recorded mine because most of the time I'm crying when I'm channeling, but it's like happy tears because it's the energy of pure love. Like that's why they're bollocking you, because they love you. They want to guide you. They want the best from you. And if in your life, if in your sole purpose, you were meant to go from A to B and you're like stuck at A.5 somewhere because you've decided to take a sabbatical, you know, like they're like, what are you doing? So yeah, you know, they are here. They're called spirit guides. They're here to guide you. And you know, there's sometimes like we can poke people and other times we can whack them with a stick. So I feel like that's where we get it from. So just to touch on quickly then, like the benefits of channeling. Obviously, we've both said here that, you know, Amy's done full-blown courses. Obviously, she's able to guide people. Obviously, I bring mine about in my coaching and things like that. So what then, Amy, would you say then are the benefits of channeling for other people?
The benefits of channeling for, all right, okay. So for them to channel, do you
Yeah,
mean?
because obviously we've
Yeah,
said how we use it, obviously in our
yeah,
day-to-day lives and in our
yeah.
businesses. I mean, obviously I'm just thinking of like you've got increased intuition and it's your connection to source, but is there anything that you can elaborate on that and add in? Like, why do we want to channel? Why do we strive to do it? What does that mean?
Right. So the word that I'm getting, yeah, and it's very, here's the thing with channeling, right? It's human, and this is what they always say. They're like, sometimes it's so funny as well as you like get to know you guys. It's like sometimes you're just like, humans are like, why? It's like you make everything so hard. It's not this hard. Like that's what they say all the time. That's what comes through in the quantum hypnosis sessions as well. It's like sometimes you do get the spiritual bollocking, but you're also like pissing your pants laughing as well, because you're laughing at yourself, because you also see it. Sometimes you like cry laughing. Have you ever had that where you like channeling, you like cry laughing because they're going, oh, it's not like that, it's like this, stop making everything so hard. Right, but my point was, okay, why is this is a word, right, in itself, trust, because it gives you a sense of trust in your life, right, that you know that I didn't have before, that I was just kind of coasting through life, like meandering all over the place, not knowing what the fuck, right? And then, you know, and then you channel and you connect with these guides, and it gives you a higher perspective, which means that you don't get so caught up in the, I'm not going to say it because we've already swore too much in this
I feel
in
like the
this
word
podcast.
bullshit was coming to mind.
No, the word bullshit nonsense fuckery. I said it right. So you don't get caught up in the bullshit nonsense fuckery. I'm sorry, I'll try harder not to swear. But like, but we're here now, we're here. So it's like,
Put the
here's
lid off,
that.
Amy. It's happening now.
So the higher perspective, because it takes you out of the situation so that you can see it from different points of view. When you've got a varied perspective in anything, let's even take out the spirituality, when you can see things from a different perspective, you are not focused so much on your on an ego level. And it's not about like not acknowledging where you are. It's not about, you know, we go through challenges and we go through things, and our feelings are important, and sitting with those feelings and being with them and letting that be okay. But I know for myself, like what I can do is something will happen and I'll go, you know better than that, you should know better than that, why you, do you know what I mean? And then there's a whole story about it, and yes, you will get the spiritual bollocking, but they will also say you're not approaching this from a space of where's the compassion, where's the kindness. Yeah, and you can ask your guides to like channel the healing through you as well, right, in that moment to help. So that's what I would say. It gives you a higher perspective. When you've got a higher perspective, you're not getting caught up in drama. It takes you out of drama consciousness. Please, for the love of God, can we all stop with the drama consciousness? Because it serves no one, right? And the guides will not let you have any of that, because they will go, here's the thing. Like, it's not, you're being dramatic, do you know what I mean? And it's like they will honor your feelings and all that, but they will say, here's another perspective. So it's just perspective. So
Yeah.
that's it. Yeah.
Life is perspective. I hope we've not done the guides an injustice by preaching about our spiritual bollockins, but truth is truth, is it not? But yeah, don't be afraid to channel. You're not really going to get told off. It's loving guidance.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
So yeah, just to wrap this one up then. So I hope you found this one interesting, insightful, useful. So obviously please like and subscribe to the video, and if you want to work with Amy or work with myself, all our details are down below. And obviously if you've got any comments, please write them in the comments box. Any questions, or if you want to say, guys, I want you to speak about this, please do an episode on this. We are here to help, to channel, to facilitate your transformation. So yeah, please let us know in the comments, and obviously we will make episodes from that. So yeah, thank you very much, and we will see you on the next episode.
Thank you. Love you all.
Bye.
Bye.